The real presentation, which is Freshspire. Shraddha has been working on this. She just graduated from NC State, so NC State connection. She has been working with the Miller Fellows Program, which is a pretty cool fellowship program there at NC State. And she's been working on this since high school. A lot of good stuff, a lot of changes as any good entrepreneur does. She's pivoted a few times, but I'll let her tell you all the rest of the good stuff here.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing great today. My name is Shraddha and I am the co-founder of Freshspire, basically a company aiming to put in technology into the food space to reduce food waste all around.
Put the microphone up a little bit more.
So I want everyone to take a look at this picture of tomatoes. Does anything about this picture look wrong to you? Do the tomatoes look great? Yeah, I think they look great. But unfortunately, this particular case of tomatoes were rejected by a large retailer in the area just this summer. And food just like this, that looks perfect, and even that's slightly misshapen and perfectly edible, ends up in our landfills, creating about $218 billion worth of food waste every single year just in America, which is insane. This is enough food to fill about 700 football stadiums worth of food. There's a lot of reasons for this food waste. Some factors include poor communication, transportation, imperfections in misshapen food, rejected shipments, it costs too much to harvest some things, or seasonal weather changes. And if I was a farmer or food distributor, and if I had any excess produce to sell, I would have to turn to my client list and call each client one by one to find a buyer for this excess food. That's incredibly time-consuming and not efficient. There's no solid infrastructure for a farmer or food distributor to go to quickly find a buyer for excess produce available. That's where Freshspire comes in. Freshspire aims to connect food suppliers and buyers with excess produce. By using our easy-to-use platform, food suppliers can quickly notify all of their customers in their area about things that are available so that we can reroute this food that would otherwise be wasted into something useful. So a food supplier would easily just post a deal or any inventory that they have to sell to mass notify all of their buyers at once. This is based on their preferences, and this allows for quick transactions to happen in a very professional way. So the benefit that food suppliers get is one, they gain otherwise lost revenue. We're rerouting food from waste. And they save time in finding any buyers that they would have to otherwise manually contact. Food buyers can save money on produce in the area. Typically, a lot of this excess produce is discounted, so they have the opportunity to buy low-cost produce because their margins are tight. Also, they save time on ordering. We are a mission-driven business, and so another really big value proposition for us is the social impact that we have. One, we're reducing food waste. Food waste creates a lot of methane emissions in landfills. It also uses up resources like water, labor, transportation in this process. At the same time, we're able to empower local food suppliers. A lot of the food suppliers and farmers that we've talked to don't have a really good way of contacting their current customers anyway. This empowers them to be able to reach out to buyers quickly and efficiently. And lastly, we're giving back. Our main mission at Freshspire is to really find a match for everything on our platform. The more transactions we have, the better. We're grabbing more food. So we're also partnering with nonprofits and social businesses in the area so that we can match this food as quickly as possible before it goes bad. We also plan to give a percentage of our profits to other nonprofits on our platform so that they can continue using it and continue benefiting the environment. What does our market look like? So I did mention before that there's a $218 billion food waste problem in our country today. About $63.2 billion comes from the farm and distribution space. And so this is the lost revenue that we're trying to recover. And in the US, just to give a little sense of the space, there's about 2.1 million farms and about 16,000 distributors. These are the people that we're primarily trying to work with as a total addressable market. So how do we make money? We're starting out with our initial customers with a transaction percentage to reduce the amount of obstacles that it takes to use our application. As we build features into our application in terms of analytics and buyer insights, we plan to switch to a subscription platform on top of this transaction model. And there are competitors in our space. Everyone's kind of working to try and increase this communication and connect buyers and sellers because it's a huge problem in our area. But everyone's kind of doing it in a different way. We really want to focus on making it easy for sellers to monetize on excess produce along with other regular produce that they already sell. We also really want to make it easy for buyers to quickly find out about it so they don't have to contact another company to add deals to their inventory online ordering platform. And lastly, we are positioning ourselves as more of a technology company with really good relations with our customers. And so we have the agile ability to add features quickly and use algorithms to strategically match buyers based on insights. How do we plan on getting our customers on the application? So one, for sellers, we've been doing a lot of in-person meetings to really make sure that we know what problem we're solving and that we're solving it for them. We also are reaching out to our customers via farmer newsletters, mailing lists. We plan to go to agricultural conferences and use the power of social media and blog. Same thing with buyers. We're relying on suppliers to market this application as a tool for them to be able to sell more produce. At the same time, we're using that client list ourselves to do our own marketing for Freshspire. We are using a lot of emails and text messaging to promote down this application, as well as door-to-door marketing and social media. So we are planning to launch at the end of this month in the Triangle area, and we have these suppliers and distributors already logged into our application, or signed on to our application. We are starting small. We're starting with a few distributors in the area, but these are also prominent players. A lot of the restaurants that we've talked to use these distributors. So it's a really good place for us to start with our product. At the same time, the restaurants in the Triangle area are very local and sustainably minded, and so they were really attracted to the Freshspire platform and the concept, and so we've been onboarding them as well through the client list of these suppliers. So it's been really cool talking to these farmers and suppliers. For example, one of our farmers, Tammy, she does urban farming with microgreens and mushrooms. And she came up to us and she was like, man, I really jumped on your idea because this is really the way that purchasing is going, an open marketplace, the ability to quickly notify people of goods that are available in the area so that we can quickly even source more locally rather than request food from California and faraway places. She's in downtown Raleigh and she communicates mainly with restaurants in the area, and so she said that this is a really good way for her to effectively communicate with us. And with our concept, we've done a lot of pitch competitions. We've really tried to go in our community and spread our concept. And we've really gained national attention from many different organizations, including the Clinton Global Initiative, Walmart, Millennial Exchange Project, MSNBC, NC State. And it shows that there's really a need for something like this. There's a need to revolutionize the way that we buy and sell food in our area. It's such an important concept and we all live by it, but it's crazy that a lot of it hangs by the single thread. Thank you. It's okay. But honestly, throughout our journey, one of my favorite parts of this was actually doing the farm visits and actually really getting to know the people that we're working with. I think that was a problem with other software companies that came out in the food space. Farmers told us, like, no one ever came to us to interview us and ask us about our problems. And that really felt good because we realized we were approaching this problem in the right way. We were able to talk to so many different farmers in the area and learn so much about the food distribution and farm space so that we could really cultivate our solution to solve the right things and start small and iterate quickly. This is the team. This is my founding team. So I am the CEO and co-founder along with my really good friend and colleague, Mona, we go back till 6th grade. I think we roomed together at one point. And we really learned that we work well together. We've done a lot of events together, and we're kind of the yin to our yang. So whenever I have something on my mind, she's already done it, or vice versa. And it's crazy. And one of our really good friends, Matt Simpson, came on board as our CTO, who's a crazy smart guy, triple major from NC State, finished it early, and is doing great for us on the tech side. Well, this is Freshspire. Right now we're currently planning to launch at the end of August, and we're honestly looking for advice in the farm space. We've realized that it's a pretty tech-resistant space, and as we're trying to grow and really get this platform out there, we could use any insights, advice, or connections that we can get. We're also looking for pre-seed funding so that we can continue our project further on without having to, take on other jobs necessarily. And so that's where we're at. And please feel free to contact us if you have any questions or visit our website. That's Freshspire. Thank you.
Okay, who's got some questions right in the back?
Quick question, this is the beginning of it, but as it relates to some of the farmers that you're trying to, I guess, network with or develop relationships, have you reached out to food hubs? Because that gives you a concentration of farmers across the state, so I can name off 5, but like Eastern Carolina Organics, First Hand Foods, I go on and on, as far as folks that you want to put into the supply chain.
Yeah, so we've reached out to a wide variety of farmers and food distribution entities, including like Eco and some other ones in our area. We're really trying to focus it on the Triangle area, people who distribute to the restaurants that we're trying to focus and onboard on. And yes, we have reached out to them. And if you have any other connections to any other food hubs in the area, I'd love them. Yeah, thank you.
Good morning. Like the idea. I have a couple comments. One, if you want, probably contacts. I would go to the chambers because all the restaurants and that would be a good list. And you get all those and you can address it directly. Be a good start point for you actually to contact. My question is, on the technology side, you're going out to farmers. Now this is a wide area of people not having the proper infrastructure or setup. Do you have a concept of what you're expecting these farmers to have for your system to work? And how are you relaying that to them? And I don't know, what do you figure the cost of this to them? Because from a business system, you could talk to, I installed quite a few, they're about $3,000. I don't know what you're looking at from a farmer perspective. So just curiosity.
Yeah, so in terms of our interviews, we've done a lot of in-person interviews, and for the clients that we've onboarded already who are willing to use our application at launch, they've been interested in our concept. So the technology pretty much only requires a smartphone or a laptop. So we're a web app, we can be accessed online or on your phone. And most of the people that we talk to, actually all of them, have smartphones. And we've really tried to design it so that it kind of just sinks into their everyday life. They have a really busy life. So whenever they're uploading a discount, it's literally a 6-step process. You take a picture and enter in a couple of details and it's posted. Then they can receive requests and contact the buyers as needed. And then we plan on adding more features to that to make that simpler as we go on and test our concept. But in terms of, I think you asked about budget as well. Yeah, and so that's why we're starting with the transaction percentage. People said that, the customers that we're starting with, they've said that that's reasonable, a 10 to 20% transaction percentage. We're still trying to figure out, to be honest, the subscription fee going forward, because that's something that we need to, I think, prove a little bit more value on in terms of how much we're saving you, how much more money that how much easier we're making your life, and because there's not been something like this out there. And so it's something that we're trying to experiment with.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Two-part question, actually. So connecting buyers and sellers is one aspect of the challenge, of course. What about distribution? Okay, like putting stuff on a truck, getting it from point A to point B. have you consolidated, any kind of distribution infrastructure to work with you? That's the first question. The second question, I've followed Farmsy now for a few years, actually, and I've seen some of the others on your chart. And one thing that's always puzzled me as kind of an MBA guy is why does nobody do a bid-ask spread between buyers and sellers? Producers can put out the ask. I have 1,000 pounds of lettuce. I want $2 a head. And then the bid comes back. Yeah, I want to buy some of that lettuce, but I'll give you $1 a head. And you converge on a price. So distribution, bid-ask spread. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think distribution is definitely a struggle for us. That was something that we were exploring a little bit with. We're like, do we do delivery ourselves? What do we do? Some farmers were like, well, it'd be really easy if you just sent it out. So what we decided to do for our initial iteration is work with farmers with distribution mechanisms and food distributors. And so there are a lot of farms in the area who have trucks, and they already have clients that they go to in downtown Raleigh, which is where we're really focusing on to test our concept. Another way that we're thinking about, addressing that issue is, using Uber Eats, Instacart type delivery systems, or also even just buying our own little cold storage van to do that if the case occurs. We definitely have the plans of, doing it ourselves. If there's food that needs to be sold and it can't get to the restaurant, we'll just have a cold storage in the back of my car, like a cooler, with an amount of cases. But that's definitely something that we've thought about, and that's why we're really strategically trying to target our initial customers to people who can get that food to some places. Also, we've learned that restaurants go and pick up food from the farmers market sometimes, and so we also have the option for a distributor or farmer to bring it to the farmers market for a restaurant pickup.
I run a farmers market, by the way, so if you want access to a farmers market, see me after.
Perfect. I'll get your name after this, for sure. And then the second thing you asked was about the bidding.
Bid-ask spread.
Bid-ask spread. So yeah, in learning about this space, we've learned that there's a lot of complications that go into farmers and distributors and their clients. First of all, a lot of farmers and distributors have worked really hard to form that client list, and that's kind of something that they put a lot of pride on. So we've really had to design our application so that we don't step on any toes right now in terms of, like, this is my client. You can't take it because you're offering 1,000 pounds of lettuce really cheap one time, and then you get the customer. And so the problem with that is that in the industry, there's a lot of different aspects of price control where bigger companies are able to, have more price control and make things cheaper than smaller farmers and smaller distributors. And we didn't really want to make that toxic kind of relationship. So right now we're working on like a more privatized marketplace so that we can get to an open marketplace simpler and smoother in the future. And I definitely do think that's where things are going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything on your service that deals with what you started your presentation with? Here's a perfectly looking produce and somebody might reject it. How do you deal with that when somebody's offering something and might be expired for somebody's standards? How do you deal with the standards of people and avoid having somebody deliver something and then they go, not what I wanted?
Yeah.
So you will have that, and one of the biggest challenges of farmers, and he can testify, is the logistics. The distribution, the logistics, and having that truck, the one only truck to go somewhere. If it's a wasted trip, they just lost a lot of money. So do you have any plans on that, or how do you address that?
Yeah, so on our application, I guess one is the transparency of the products that are being put on. So on our application, we require a photo for the distributors. They have to post a photo of whatever they're trying to sell. And then also they have to post a reason for post. So we realize that not every farmer is gonna post excess produce. They can post whatever they want. We have no control on that. But if you are posting excess produce, it's to your benefit to put the reason. Like, it was rejected, or I just had a lot of extra tomatoes that I wasn't able to sell. It's also an incentive to the distributor that we've learned to be able to really notify their consumer of what they're getting. Otherwise, they lose money on that trip, right? They have to bring it back afterwards. They lose money on the driving, they lose money on the gas. And so it's really to the incentive of the distributor to to make sure that they're selling the consumer what they want. And yeah, and I agree, logistics is a huge issue here, and I think that's why this space is a really complicated space. So right now what we're trying to do is really address a problem of communication, and with specifically clients that these distributors are already working with, and so that they're already on the routes, they're already kind of like ingrained into that culture, and then we plan to expand after that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Two quick ones. Do you have partners, and I'll give a couple of suggestions, or at least collaborators insight from, when I was in DC years ago, I worked with DC Central Kitchen, and what they do is for a couple decades, is they recycle perishable food items and redistribute them within the community, both to feed kind of homeless people in areas, urban kind of deserts, those kind of things, by delivering fresh foods to places that don't normally have access. There's also a local company called Qualia, do you know them? Michael Wayne, who kind of hangs around here often. Their device is a machine learning, they have a device that works with transportation systems so that they can essentially track products throughout the life cycle from farm to store across the distribution system, and understand kind of when and where things are failing. It could be a good collaboration potential, because if they can spot when things are going to go bad, you can be notified earlier in the process.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Neither of those were questions.
Yeah, I guess like going off the first thing I said though, I think something similar here would be the Interfaith Food Shuttle, who really jumped on our idea as well. So they also buy low cost produce, and so I do agree with you on that.
Question. Nice presentation, thank you. A couple of things on your how you take a look at your transaction fee. Why don't you do a hybrid, do a membership fee, different, like just two different levels with a transaction. Based on volume, you can work out that mix and a discount on it. And the other thing with your logistics standpoint, when you take a look at the distribution, always make sure you have some type of way or mechanism for backhauls. So that truck doesn't come back wherever it's going, whether it's a milk run or whatever. There's always something in that truck. So there's a value for that distributor to do that with your connection. Just a couple thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to add in the future to really make distribution efficient. Thank you.
And what's the size of the average transaction you're picturing? When you first started talking, I was picturing like a truckload of stuff, but then you were talking about Uber Eats delivery or putting it in the back of your car, so I'm curious about that.
Yeah, most distributors themselves, if they're going to take a truck out, have like a $50 minimum or something. And this is something that we're testing right now in terms of, you know, what is the complete load for a restaurant to buy. We know that a restaurant typically buys about $175 worth of produce every week. You know, when we talk about like a local restaurant in our area in Charlotte, things like that. And so we're really, usually the excess is a lot, but the restaurant has a minimum of what they need. They don't need like a full truckload of cucumbers. And so the issue here is like, how do you distribute that properly within restaurants in your area, and based on need and based on their requests. And so that's why, you know, something like Uber Eats or Instacart would help in that kind of sense. But yeah.
I'm getting the impression from what you're saying that your primary customers are, not on the farmer side obviously, but on the consumption side, are restaurants. Is that accurate, or if not, who are your actual customers as sort of the aggregate gross? And the other question is, in addition to the Interfaith Food Shuttle, there are other societies out there, like the Society of St. Andrew that does gleaning work, the food banks in North Carolina, and so forth and so on. Those could be considered, from your business model standpoint, sort of customers of last resort on a donation basis, because they're not going to be paying for the thing. Have you considered ways of building in a sort of nonprofit donation piece? So, for example, a farmer can't sell their produce anyplace else, but they could donate it for a tax credit, so at least they're getting something out of it.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely our goal, to be able to match whatever food is on the application to someone, to an endpoint. And we have made relationships with the Food Bank of Central Eastern North Carolina. And that's our goal. Like, we want to be able to empower nonprofits to have better access to food. So like something that we also learned is that a lot of food banks actually continuously pick up food from farmers to keep that relationship, even though there's not necessarily the manpower to go through all of that food. And so with Freshspire, being able to connect the proper food bank with the proper farmer is also powerful. Our technology is very general in terms of like, we can connect any point A with point B. Like, that's what we can do in an efficient manner, and taking into consideration certain things about food distribution. And so, yeah, we're definitely we're a social business, and we really want to empower like things like the Interfaith Food Shuttle and the food bank, who buy and take donations. Actually, I like learned a lot about that. Yeah, and also other like I guess gleaning facilities who might need an endpoint for that food as well. We haven't really specifically looked into that too much, but that'd be a great place to look too.
Taking that one step further, a little bit off the wall, I think, what if you had a bi-directional system? In other words, you get fresh produce, as restaurants say. The restaurants in their back room might have extra produce sitting around that they're gonna throw out in the dumpster. What if you picked up theirs and brought that to the food bank as well? That would give them extra reason to hire you. And that would give them an extra wonderful thing that you would be doing, if you have this bi-directional system.
Yeah.
It'd be great PR, by the way.
For sure. I mean, we definitely want to be able to connect, any food waste, any avenues of food waste that people can use it. And yeah, I think that's a great idea, something that we should think about doing.
Yeah, could you, tell me what the financial model is for all of this? Who needs the 15%, who the customers are? Because a business is all about numbers.
Yeah. So,
Could you go through that, please?
of course, yeah. So for the subscription, the transaction fee would be on top of the cost of the produce. So like whatever the supplier is selling it for, we add a 15% hike to that, so that the restaurant, whoever the end consumer is, would pay that, but innately in the price. Something that we've learned from other distributors with their own online ordering experiences, they were like, see, we learned that consumers don't care about shipping if it's in the price. But we learned that they stopped ordering when it was outside the price. And so by putting that 15% transaction fee, kind of saying that, yeah, there is a hike and that we're taking that transaction fee, but it's within the whole
Yep.
original price. At the same time, when we moved to a subscription, when we were adding features for buyer insights, as well as other powerful analytics, that's more catered towards the supplier and the food distributor. So that's what the subscription fee would be targeted towards that.
So the 15% is being paid to you by whom?
That would be the restaurants, food businesses.
So they're gonna pay 15% on top of the cost of that produce?
Yes, that's our assumption.
So how many of those do you need? I mean, what does the business model look like? How do you generate money? How much money do you need to get to break even? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so for about a 1-year runway, we would require about $200,000. I mean, we're a low intensity capital startup, so our main thing goes into software engineering and maintaining our application. And in order to really break even, we definitely need to move to a subscription model, and that's what we plan to do by adding features quickly in an agile method, so that we can give the best value that we want to reduce this food waste in terms of like inventory management and things like that for the supplier in general.
Any other questions or good? All right, cool. Give it up for Freshspire.